to look at.
The yurt is covered with rugs. There's some basic oven type of structure in the middle. They have a little power generator that runs off of solar. And then we were greeted with a song by some women and a man musician who is playing a two-stringed guitar-like instrument. Very beautiful and definitely a new sight that I hadn't seen here.
It was very, very pretty. The song was very pretty.
And then they actually sat down and did a duet between a man and a woman.
Each one of them, the man first, sings to a traditional melody, but improvises the lyrics.
We were told the gentleman was saying how good his life was, how is your life?
It was amazing to me to learn that they were improvising the lyrics. I could tell that the woman was a little nervous and that she was having a little bit of a hard time thinking of what to sing.
It was very human and natural.
Improvising lyrics is something I could never do. At the end of the musical performance, the musicians actually invited us to dance with them. So we did. We got up and we did our best.
The dancers invited us to dance with them and kind of mimic their moves and kind of did a little dance with them. Definitely got out of my comfort zone and wanted to partake in this. The way the Kazakh people prepare their food, they had a few different stations. They had the mini barbecue pit. They had a big round pot that they were cooking vegetables in. They also had a bigger pot where they had put the sheep and the meat in. And then next to it, they had a preparation table where the men and women were cutting up the meat, putting it on skewers.
They were preparing kebabs.
It was in this little mini barbecue metal thing with charcoal. And they basically used this technique of flame, smoking it. Then they would cut off the flame, just smoke it, and then flame it back and forth. And then they used 3 different spices on it. By far the tastiest thing that I've had in China so far.
It smelled amazing.
After that, we went back into the yurt and had the traditional dinner.
2 older brothers who live here honored us with some of the meat from the face of the sheep. It's a traditional concept of honoring someone, and they call it face. They call it giving face.
Was also handed the ear. This is a special thing for them, and so it was a special thing to give us.
I was surprised at how flavorful the meat was. It really just tasted amazing. One thing that really struck me about all the people that I saw was that they look so happy. They have all these great smile lines and they all smile, and their music is all about how great their lives are. They even were competing to see whose life was better. It's something that we don't hear a lot in music.
It's a community that's based off of family, togetherness, and music. And life is really complete and beautiful here.
I'm surprised by how overwhelmed I am by the experiences I've had just in the last few days. It made me realize that a lot of my music is cathartic. It's about dealing with my suffering and the things that I struggle with. I think that it will change how I write, at least a little bit, to focus more on the good things that are in my life, and to really use music as an expression of joy.
For some reason, today connected with me. We got to meet the people that live off the farm, live off the land, and it was awesome. Great people, great vibe, great family, and truly, I think, living life to the fullest. Today was our 4th day in China. We were able to leave the city once again and take a 2-hour drive to the Tian Shan mountain. This is where the Heavenly Lake is located, and as you can see behind me, it truly is heavenly.
Tian Shan Mountain has tall evergreen forests, a huge, gorgeous lake called Heavenly Lake that is a blue-green color that I've never seen before.
And the snow-capped mountains in the back are just the capper on this very spiritual place. You can feel the energy everywhere.
We were able to take a boat out onto Heavenly Lake.
As we got onto the boat, I realized I haven't been on a boat in probably 5 to 10 years, and I'm stuck in the city working on my career, and I need to get out more. I need to get to these kind of places because it brings you a calmness that you don't have in the city. The smell of the water and the size of the lake, you feel like you're in a different place here. Every day it's like I'm on this J curve. I'm able to appreciate it more. I'm able to interact more, get out of my little box that Chris Tozzi puts himself into, and get out of it. And once I get out of it and I scare myself and I push myself, I get to the other end and I'm happier, I'm better, I'm more accomplished. I'm so hot. The reason I'm so hot is that we're in Turpan. Turpan has the 3rd lowest elevation of anywhere in the world and is the hottest place in China.
We started the day by visiting the Karez well.
And we were actually able to go down the well and see how the system worked. And it was really neat.
Because this area is so hot and so dry, they have to build the canal underground. We are looking at the Karez well, which is an underground irrigation system that's been used in this area of China for over 2,000 years. It's constructed completely by hand without the use of any modern machinery or building materials.
And in China, this is considered to be on par with the Great Wall and the Grand Canyon.
We next visited a place where raisins are made.
Grapes are one of the top 3 products that contribute to the local economy, next to cotton and melon.
Ever since I was a little kid, I always thought it was really strange that raisins were made from grapes. And today I got to find out how they're made, and it's really simple. They take these long poles, they're about 6 feet long, and they attach little spikes, maybe about 3 to 4 inches long, and they just hang picked clusters of grapes from them in a room that's shaded and also well ventilated, so that the wind can blow through and dry out the grapes. The next site we visited was the Emin Minaret.
The minaret is a big tower-like structure.
The Emin Minaret was built in honor of a Turpan general named Emin Hoja in 1777.
It has a very Middle Eastern look to it, and it's located next to a mosque. The mosque has a wooden ceiling and pillars.
I I was able to step into a sort of foyer area, and it was stunning. The main prayer area has these enormous wooden pillars, and they're just gorgeous. The wood is just beautiful.
In the afternoon, we were able to visit a family-owned vineyard.
We were led back into a sort of courtyard area with a trellis over it, overgrown with grapevines. And it was really, really hot when we were out on the street, but underneath the grapevine trellis, it was really cool and really still, so it was very comfortable. The family had us sit with them around a little banquet table, and then they actually performed for us.
The traditional mukam instruments were brought out.
They performed a duet with the head of the household playing the drum and his brother playing the guitar.
We also had a young girl from the family get up and dance, and she was really good. You could definitely tell that this was something that came naturally to her.
She was probably about 11 or 12 years old, and she was so good. She just took my breath away. The way she moved her neck and the way she moved her arms and her shoulders was actually very adult to me. She really seemed like she knew all the moves.
And the really cool aspect of the day is that we were later asked to perform with them. So I got to play my guitar, share my music with people from a complete other side of the world. And to be a musician, that's what it's all about, to be able to share your music. So this was a real honor for me to get up and even play for them.
I had an opportunity to sing one of my favorite American folk songs, Amazing Grace, for the family that owned the vineyard. And it was a really great experience for me because we sat and listened to their music, and their music is very different from the music that we're used to hearing and performing. And I sang a cappella, which is something that I very rarely do, and I could really hear myself, which is something that's rare as well. And I really felt that I was able to connect with them.
It was really, I think, one of the highlights for us to be musicians and be able to share that. Our last stop today was Jiaoha, an ancient civilization that dates back over 2,000 years. From an aerial view, Jiaoha looks like a big ship cruising through the sea.
The city is about a mile long and about 900 feet wide, and it's built on top of a cliff that's about 90 feet tall. The city was founded during the Han Dynasty between 206 and 220 BCE and was inhabited up until the 13th century CE. At its height, there were over 6,500 residents in the city, and that makes it one of the most largely populated ancient cities in the world. This site reminds me a lot of the Anasazi ruins at Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Except this site is much bigger. The Chaco Canyon site only has about 20 or 25 buildings, at least the main area. And this is definitely a huge city where lots of people were for over 1,500 years. And you can really feel that being here. Even though it's very quiet now, when you stand and look out over the ruins, you can tell that this was a bustling place for a lot of years. Ever since we left the Kazakh settlement on Nanshan Mountain, the melody that the woman was singing when the four people were performing for us inside the yurt has been stuck in my head. And I've been playing around with an idea based on that melody. I don't really know if that will develop into a complete song, but if it does, I am certain that the song will be about celebrating my life and celebrating the things that are good in it, because that was the inspiration.
Today was our second day in Turpan. Our first stop was at the Flaming Mountain. The Flaming Mountain is located 20 miles out of Turpan. It was 50 miles long and 4 miles wide.
The altitude is about 1,500 feet, and its highest point is about 2,500 feet. It's definitely the hottest place in China, and you can see that when you look at the ground. It's all cracked.
The uniqueness of the Flaming Mountain is that it's a huge mountain that has these little ripples going through it, and it looks like streams have been going through the actual mountain.
It's called the Flaming Mountain because of its red color in the afternoon sun.
So we're standing right in front of the giant thermometer. It is only 10 a.m. and it is already 96 degrees here.
We actually were able to ride camels. I have never ridden a camel before.
I grew up on a ranch, so I've ridden horses before.
It was similar to riding a horse, but it was a little bit slower.
The camel wasn't as smooth, it was a little jerkier, but it was definitely cool.
The camels actually seemed really sleepy, and I could completely relate to that out in that hot sun.
It was a great experience. Later we visited the Gauchon Ruins, which are about 1,400 years old.
The city of Gauchon, which was first settled in the 1st century BCE and went through lots of different power struggles until it finally became the Uyghur capital in 850 CE. It was a major staging post along the Silk Road until the 14th century when it burned, and then the Uyghur capital was moved to Turpan.
These ruins are similar to the ones we saw yesterday, but they're a little bit more worn down, so it's a little bit harder to tell the structures that were there. You can see restoration going on.
Texts in classical Sanskrit, Uyghur, Chinese, and Tibetan have all been discovered at Gauchon. And when you're there, you can really sense how many different cultures lived and interacted there.
The highlight of the Gauchon Ruins was definitely the donkey rides, or the donkey taxi.
In order to get to the site, we had to take a donkey taxi. And that's another thing that I've never done before, and it was quite an experience. The donkey that was in control of our taxi was not very obedient and had a mind of its own. It wanted to go when it was supposed to stop, and sometimes when it was supposed to go, it wouldn't go at all. It was really funny.
The ride's kind of bumpy and the dust is kind of brought up, and the donkeys are actually pretty fast.